Welcome to the Whole Enchilada, a community of high achievers that fight the status quo, rebel against mediocrity, and make life happen. Let's go.
Hey, Enchilada Nation, really excited about our conversation today. I've got a friend of mine that I met a couple years ago and was just really impressed with him. I got my friend Craig Reger on the call with me today to share some of his insight. Craig, thanks for being here.
Marcus, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share and learn today.
I know with our schedules, I've actually been anticipating this call for a couple of weeks because we were both either traveling or different things. So I've anticipated this for a couple of weeks. So really excited about it. So for those of you that have not heard the name Craig Reger, he's been in the business for a long time. One of the things I really have appreciated about Craig is, and where I feel like I've resonated with him, is he is a true leader as you think of the word, and as we've talked about it in the Enchilada Nation, of someone that leads with value, has an incredible team around him, which we'll talk a little bit about today, and has leveraged himself in a way that he lives the whole enchilada. He has an incredible business, but he's also out traveling and doing all the adventure things that we like to talk about here on the show. So Craig in the Portland area is a broker owner of a brokerage called Rieger Homes. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these names. His team is a top producing team in that area, Reger Homes. And then where you and I connected originally, and I got connected through your coaching and consulting company, RCC, Reger Coaching and Consulting, where I actually hired Craig and his team to come in and do some coaching with some of my teams, which is incredible. So what else should we know about you before we jump into our conversation today, Craig?
I think on the business side, you nailed it, Marcus. I mean, beyond that, 22 years in the industry. I got a beautiful family. I got a son, Liam. He graduated this year from high school, and we're super excited, but a little bit sad. He's taken off to Clemson, I think in like 16 days. So we're in Portland, Oregon. Clemson is a great school, but it's a long ways away. I got a 16-year-old daughter, Olivia, and she's heading into her junior year. So I'm being an empty nester in 2 years. But beyond that, man, if I'm not working, I'm not coaching, I'm not with my kids and my family, you're going to find me fly fishing at some remote part of the world. Like that's my jam. It's one of the reasons I work so hard outside of family. It's like getting in nature, getting away from cell phones, unplugging.
Yeah, no, you and I resonate on that. In fact, that what our listeners don't know is we should have started recording 20, 30 minutes ago. And we've been talking fly fishing for the last little bit, which is awesome.
Well, we'll put our next episode of the Whole Enchilada from the place we're talking about next year.
Yes, I'm in. I'd love to go. So let's get down to our topic at hand today. There's a ton of things we could talk about, and to your point, maybe we do some follow-ups here. But I want to talk a little bit about leverage, and I think that's always been a really important topic as entrepreneurs. Is to say, for us to accomplish more, for us to get to the next level, no entrepreneur can get past to the next level unless they can get past themselves and learn to leverage around themselves. And I honestly think this is. And you coach a ton of people too. This is one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs to learn, is because they are hardworking, they're active, they're charismatic, and all those things serve them to a certain level. And it actually works against them. The ceiling they constantly hit is their ability to grow as a leader and leverage around themselves. So talk us through a little bit, like how did you start learning leverage in your career? You've been doing this for 22 years. When did you start realizing you needed to learn this skill set and kind of that journey?
Pretty early on. I mean, another way to ask questions, like how many times did you screw up before you figured it out? Like a gazillion, but I think I learned it pretty early on. It's like when I think of leverage, and I'm not a systems guy, I'm an entrepreneur. Like I go away from systems and I go on like charismatic, passion, drive, work ethic. Like those were all the things that got me at a pretty high level. But then, as you said, I was crashing against that ceiling, Marcus, like crashing hard. And to me, I think where a lot of people struggle is that they don't have systems when they have leverage. So I look at leverage as systems. Like you go to a doctor's office, you schedule that somehow, probably online these days, and you sit down and then, you check in and then you sit down, somebody calls you back, right? That's the nurse saying, hey, Mr. Reger, come on back. And then he or she will take my blood pressure, take my temperature, put me in a room, ask me a ton of questions. And then they leave and then a doctor comes in and the doctors probably make the most amount of money. And then they say, ask you more questions. They check what the leverage did. And then they leave and then they send you to the pharmacy or to a specialist. Like it's all systems through leverage. Another way I look at leverage is that I have a house cleaner. I'm not embarrassed to admit that. Like I have leverage all through my personal life as well. It's like, I don't want to have to clean my toilets if I don't want to. I don't want to have to mow my yard if I don't want to. So can I pay 10, 15, 20, 30, $40 an hour for certain leverage that either frees me up to go to my daughter's soccer game, frees me up doing something I don't want to do, or I'm not necessarily perfect at anyway, or most importantly in a business world, frees me up to do an activity that might pay me $1,000 or $10,000 an hour. So sorry, long answer to your question, but for all of those reasons, I brought leverage in pretty early in my career because like, wait a second, I had a mentor. It's like, Craig, if you're doing this amount of business, and I was like my second year, she said, your job is to be belly to belly with the clients. And I realized like paperwork, files, processing was definitely not belly to belly with clients.
Yeah. No, I don't apologize for the long answer. I love that answer. I thought it was spot on. And I love that you pulled in personal leverage to it as well. Because particularly where the majority of our listenership are entrepreneurs building their own businesses, a lot of times the best form of leverage you can get in your world early on, so you can give your young infant business the time and energy it needs, is on a personal level. A lot of times when people come in and I'm coaching them through the process and we talk about leverage, they say something along the lines of, I don't know how to leverage. I don't know the steps to take. And you ask the question like, well, do you mow your own lawn? And the majority of them are like, well, no, I don't mow my own lawn. I'm like, well, then you already know some element of the power of leverage. Like, why don't you mow your own lawn? And then once they start making the association of like, you can leverage across multiple aspects, it almost becomes easier for them to leverage inside their business when they saw how easily they did it in some element on their personal side of their business. Do you ever see anything like that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. In fact, I wish. So we adopted leverage into our business at a pretty young age in business life. My wife, who's a business partner at all the companies, she brought leverage in, like real leverage into her personal life 2 years ago, and she hired a personal assistant. And like, I'll admit, Marcus, like it felt a little weird. Like you don't want to go to a cocktail party like, oh, my personal assistant did that. It kind of seems douchey, right? But at the end of the day, like we don't talk about the cocktail parties, but it's a life changer. Like even fishing, I've got 2 broken fly rods from the previous trip. I've got Alaska in 6 weeks. These have been sitting in my garage for 9 months broken. And I texted the assistant last week. She picked them up. She filled out the warranty form. She sent them in. Or now we're buying everything online, like Amazon and this and that. Guess what? It's not all what we wanted or the size we wanted or exactly what we thought we were buying. It's like, you got to drive to another place, get it in the box. Like that personal leverage is amazing. And as far as steps to take, if you got leverage, like I don't know how to get it set up, easiest process in the world. I would tell any one of your entrepreneurs, make a list of everything that you don't want to do real time while you're doing it for the next 14 days. So every time you do something that you don't like or want to do, just write it down. And what you've actually created is a job description. And what you're going to find is the vast majority of the items you write down, like I'm in real estate, right? So my business is a coaching client or getting a great listing or negotiating a contract. And by the way, those pay me the most amount of money. I love them. What do you think I'm writing down? Turning in paperwork, making a flyer, scheduling a home inspection. So that list of things that you don't ever want to do again is typically the things you can leverage out for 15, 20, 30 bucks an hour.
I love that exercise. And it's so interesting to me how many people get caught up on that, because I kind of coach through the same process, and I actually make them have a list of everything you did, things you love to do, things you didn't love to do, everything you did that day. And then you go back through the process and say, what could have you paid somebody else to do for a significantly less price than you're worth per hour? And it's always interesting to me. And I'm curious, I actually had this conversation with an agent earlier this morning and going through that same activity, where she was having a hard time jumping the hurdle of just making a list of the things that she wanted to give away versus the things she felt like she could give away. And I said, you're approaching this from the mindset of, well, I can't give that away because nobody can do it as good as me, or nobody on my team knows how to do it. So she wasn't permitting herself to put those things on the list. Where I said, whoa, yes, Leon, I'm asking you not who is going to do it. Do you want to give it away? Like, what are the things you want to leverage? That's where you have to start with saying, what are all the things I want to give away? And ultimately that starts to become a job description.
It's exactly what it is. And to this person, right, I don't know enough about it, but sometimes we bring in bad leverage, right? I'm sorry, like maybe not a bad human being. Maybe they'd be perfect on a different ship with a different task and different organization. But at the end of the day, it's like most of what we do as entrepreneurs is not that awesome. Like there's certain things we do, and that's the surgery work. And yeah, that is damn hard to replace. But the vast majority of the tasks we do, somebody else can do in many cases way better. The reason we're afraid to give it away is we probably hired out of fear, or we hired a friend, or we hired too quickly, or we didn't train enough. And then it's like, we're like, well, I don't want to give it to them, they'll screw it up. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're paying money to somebody that can't do tasks. Like, is that a good move or a bad move in business?
Right. Bad move. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to me what it is that keeps somebody from hiring. And I love the things you brought up. Make sure I hit them all. You said that people either hire out of fear, they hire a friend, they hire out of urgency. Generally speaking, if you're hiring out of any of those three, you're generally going to make a wrong hire. What from your perspective, what is the cause? Why do most people end up hiring out of one of those three spots, other than from a more sound place?
We're not planning ahead, Marcus. It's that simple. We're just not planning ahead. So when do we hire? When we're totally overwhelmed. We're super slammed. We're doing our main tasks, like the things that probably make us money and move our company forward. We're doing those more or less from like 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then we find ourselves doing the other tasks. It's like, man, this is a task I really hate. The organizational side, the back side, the process side. And we're doing those in between like kids' soccer games until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So we're so stressed out. We're finally like, screw it. I need to hire an administrative assistant or an executive assistant or a marketing person. And then we just like, oh, and then we got a friend that has a friend, a sister that once was an administrative assistant or has some qualifications. Like, cool, she's hired tomorrow. Yeah. Like, we're hiring out of pain instead of having right, I said earlier, that process and that system of like, okay, here's where I'm going, here's what I'm ramping my business up to. Having an org chart today, like here's in my organization, and 6 months from now, I'm gonna need 2 more of these. And if all goes well, 18 months from now, I'm gonna need 3 more of these and someone to lead them. And we're not waking up intentionally each day building towards that org chart.
I love that. So as you're coaching people, what are the telltale signs that we should be able to perceive early on of like, hey, I need to start thinking that I'm 120, 150 days or 90 days out from needing to hire? Like, how does that start showing up? Because most of us, I think you're right. We start thinking about it when like, I'm so stressed out, I'm in so much pain that you're too late. How would we coach people to start recognizing it earlier on?
Yeah, I mean, typically the people we're coaching, the people that believe in themselves and are willing to make that financial commitment to go in coaching, like 98% of them already need more different leverage from the second we shake their hand. Yeah. From there, it's really that plan. Like, we all make plans. Like in my business, right? We're gonna go from 50 closings to 100 closings. That's a goal. Sometimes there's a plan to back up that goal. A lot of times there's not. Yeah. And I'm like, cool, okay, let's just say that magically happens and the unicorn flies into town and we go from 50 to 100. Let's play that out. And okay, well, you're doing 50 and you're already telling me you're working till 10 o'clock at night with your one agent and your one admin. What is life gonna look like at 100? Worse. Cool. Okay, well, how many more agents might you need? Or how, right, at that additional transaction count, how many more admin do you need? And then we just start planning ahead. Like, if the goals really go from 50 to 100, then we're probably going to need 1 more agent, 2 more admin. And if that's over a 1-year goal, that's cool. That's 1 hire every 4 months. That's not that hard. So we're making the goal. We've got the plan in place to hit the goal. And part of that plan is a hiring process throughout the growth of the company. Yeah. So we're hiring right at or before we actually have the need.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think once you start recognizing it, it's a skill. You start recognizing it earlier on, where it becomes clearer to you over time of like, oh, okay, now I'm starting moving into the next piece of the leverage. And I think it's important, particularly with this group in the Whole Enchilada, to talk about a lot of times your business might be humming perfectly with the leverage it is, where you think, I don't need leverage. My team's operating the way I want them to operate. However, if everything outside of your business is falling apart, you're not giving enough time to your kids, you're not taking time for yourself, your health is out of check, your business might feel like it's perfectly leveraged, but it's perfectly leveraged for your business, but not for your entire life. So are there some other, are they the same telltale signs you think that are showing up on a personal level?
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, absolutely. That's where I was like, what is it? Like, do you want, right? My wife, I've got a pretty good tan here, which in Portland, Oregon is not normal. And we literally just got back from 2 weeks in Italy. And you know that because you and I had a phone call, Marcus. I was like, hey, can we do this? And I was like, can we push it out? Because I was back for 20 hours and a buddy said, hey, do you want to go halfway to Hawaii and catch some tuna with me? I'm like, game on. And like, that was a weird feeling to be gone for 2 weeks, like gone, get back for 20 hours and then leave for 2.5 more days. So as we're interviewing our clients or entrepreneurs, like, cool, your business is humming. What's your life like here? Like when you go to Italy, if you've ever made it, are you on the phone the entire trip when the hours sync up correctly? Or are you really able to unplug and you come back and everything's still in pretty good shape, if not better? And of course, 99% of the time, I'm like, no, man, I did make it to like Hawaii and I was on the phone like 85% of the time. My wife was super pissed at me. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, great. Then your business is great, but it sounds like when you're not there, the business is not great. So you definitely have some leverage opportunities. So yeah, to me, it's like in business coaching, it can fluctuate 80-20 either direction between business and personal, but it's still all solved through the leverage model.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we want to be able to do business from anywhere, right? We say, oh, well, I can do my business from anywhere. But a lot of times that works against us because now you are doing business everywhere, right? And to me, that's the key with leverage is the true sign of a leveraged business is you have the ability to check in on your business if you need to, but your business operates wherever you are, whether you're there or not.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Like when I get to, we get to travel again, right? COVID's like kind of getting behind us, or at least travel. And it's like, I'll be at a dinner with 5 or 10 like super successful entrepreneurs, like top of their games in different fields. And it's just interesting throughout the course of a 2-3 hour dinner connection, like how many are jumping up fielding fires and how many had their phone turned upside down the entire dinner and never looked at it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I don't judge either, but if you got to jump up that many times when you're at a networking dinner, then it might mean that you're actually an employee. You might own the company, but at the end of the day, let's call it like it is. You're still very much an employee of the company. And that's not good or bad. It's not judgmental, but most of us didn't start our own companies to be an employee. I don't want to be the best employee in my company. I'm serious. I want to be the owner of the company and I want to have the best employees on the planet.
Yeah, no, I think you're nailing it on the head there. One of the things
two quick things on leverage.
Please. Yeah, let's do it.
One is I think the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make is we bring them in and it's like, dude, they're perfect. Like this Marcus Green guy, like he's got a pedigree, he's gonna change my life. And that's why we hired him, right? And we bring him in as for whatever role we hired him for, and we just think they're so great, we forget to train them. We literally just drop them into the role and we forget to train them. So that's like the biggest mistake I see when we actually find talent is we don't invest time into them. And then 2 is retention, if you want to hit on that as well.
Yeah, so let me touch on this first one first, because it's so funny you went there, because that's exactly the next question I was going to ask in regards to that is I remember a very specific hire in my organization that I hired, still to this day may have been the most talented person I've ever hired. And then 3 weeks later, I was really confused of like, this person fooled me big time in the interview process because I was convinced they were talent. And here they are not getting the things done inside my organization. They're not blowing it up the way I thought. And ultimately, they were frustrated with me. I was frustrated with them. We got out of business. And only years later did I realized that I missed an opportunity to stay in business with an incredibly talented person, not because they didn't perform at a high level in my business. It's I was not being the leader they needed me to be. So that's one of the things I tell people all the time is when you give things away, we're all excited about leveraging to give things away. You also take something on that you didn't have before. You have to take on leadership. If you don't take on leadership, which may only be 10%, you might give away 90%, take on a 10% role of leader. But if you don't do that, that person cannot thrive.
100%. 100%. You've got to invest the time in them, especially up front, right? They may be magnificent into the role that you've hired them into, but that doesn't know that they know your unique nuances and your unique style, the things that you've done to make this company and this business so successful. So, give them that upfront training and time, and they will be so grateful. Yeah. When people are grateful, by the way, they're much more likely to stay. And when they're grateful, they're much more likely to continue to give it your all. It's like, I just see that so often where we bring people in and then it's like, cool, Marcus, I'll see you every Tuesday at 1. And then every Tuesday at 12:40, I've got a massive fire. I'm an important guy. I'm the owner of the company. And I text you like, dude, can we meet tomorrow? And all that's saying to this mega talented leverage you brought in is, hey, just so you know, my problems will always be bigger than yours. So I believe when you bring somebody into your world and they're personally reporting to you, if they're reporting to you, that unless it's like family illness or somebody's literally on fire, you never cancel a meeting with them. That's the one meeting you attend.
I agree with that. You and I both come from the real estate background. We talk about the most important things you can be doing as a real estate agent, which is a newer agent or a solo agent. That's the lead generation, lead follow-up, going on listing appointments. And when you take on a leadership role, just like those other things should be on your calendar, those one-on-one accountability meetings have to be held on your accountable and time blocked. I love that, which moves us right into the retention piece, which you talked about, because I think this is the next biggest challenge from my perspective with people. Number one is their ability to hire talent and being the leader those people need to bring them into the organization. And then the other frustrating comment I get from people all the time is I brought people in, I raised them up, I trained them, and then they left me. Yeah, then they're out of there. And that's one thing I've been really impressed with you. A lot of your team members been with you for a long time. So talk us through that. Like, how do you, once you get them into the organization, what's the key to like keeping them in and retaining them and keeping them excited?
You got to be there for them, man. I mean, we're going to talk first off, it starts out with really good training. And I don't mean training like some calendar or some video they watch. I mean, like just really being present to help them grow. They didn't start their own company, right? They came and joined yours. So being really present to help them learn the things they need to learn. The accountability is a piece of that as well. So it literally starts on day one. Because what we often see is like sometimes you see companies bring in a mega talented person and they're getting very little guidance, very little training. And what happens? Well, they turn out to be that 1 out of 100 that is incredibly successful. Well, that's the person that always leaves because it's like, well, I wasn't getting much anyway, so I might as well go on my own and make it all on my own. So one is that present up front, which we've already discussed. Two is after they become in, really learning about them. Like, why did you get leverage, Marcus? Like, everyone, I'm asking you as a business owner, why did I? It's like, well, I wanted to see my daughter's soccer games. Or now I've hit a point in life where I want to go to Alaska and I want to go to Fiji and I want to travel the world either with my family or exotic vacations where I go off the grid to hunt and fish. So I brought in leverage for all these different reasons. And so when somebody starts becoming successful in your organization, go beyond the business and have those real and honest conversations like, what do you want? And why is that important to you? And what does that look like? And when do you want that to happen? And then take that same vested interest into helping them create their big investment properties, passive income. Like, you hear it all. And be there and be that coach, right? Because every one of us brings leverage and has the ability to be a coach. Be that person that takes not just a significant interest in what they care about outside of work, but also be a catalyst and hold that with the same accountability you did the standards of the job of helping them get there. So that way, when they buy their third duplex or they get back from that trip from Nepal, there's a small piece of them. You don't have to remind them, like, I wouldn't have made it to Nepal, Marcus, if you hadn't helped me set up that savings account a year ago, made sure and helped me accountable buying the plane tickets, etc. So you want to give them so much that every bit of success they have, they're tying a piece of it back to you.
Yes.
That to me is what makes it, and I already shared this, and I'll wrap it with, they are more important than your business, right? If you can get 4 or 5 uber talented people and you make their life and their business more important than your own, then I guarantee that your company is going to hit levels you've never dreamed of success. But most entrepreneurs, as you already shared, are so stuck in like, I'm the best at it, I'm so good at it, no one can do it as well as me. It'll take longer to train them than do it myself. We never grow our people to a level to exceed us.
Yep. That's so true. I think you articulated that so beautifully. It made me think of 2 very specific ahas I had on my business at different times. One was the aha I had that business was not about money, it's about people. And once I learned that it was about people, I started asking some of the questions you just modeled a minute ago of how are you? What's important to you? What are you trying to accomplish? And then the other aha I had several years ago that just really changed the way I interacted with people after they joined my organization was the statement that what caused someone to join your company isn't generally what keeps them engaged in your company. So they came expecting something in the immediate of a certain salary, a certain job description, a certain opportunity. But over time, as they grew, if they do not see a better version of themselves, or they don't see a path to a better version of themselves in your world, they are looking outside your world for a better version of themselves. Because a talented person always wants to grow. They always want to get better. And if they don't see them making that progress in your world, they are looking outside. And if you're not recognizing that as a leader or providing the path, we're ignorant to the fact that they're, and we shouldn't be surprised when they end up making a move, leaving our organizations.
Yeah, with Steve Jobs, I think I won't say as eloquently, but if you've got talent, you don't create opportunity for them, they will leave you to find it.
Yep.
Period. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs and they put stupid rules on things like, okay, 3 years you can get this opportunity. Well, wait a second. What about Michael Jordan of the role you gave me? And I can do more in 1 year than the person sitting next to me. Like when somebody is real, and I'm not saying immediately, but when somebody is really going above and beyond and getting results above and beyond, that's the moment we immediately start sitting down saying, here's the opportunity that's coming for you. Do you even want that? Is that important to you? So never tie it to like certain timeframes. That's weird to me, but I see it constantly in our coaching business.
And such unrealistic expectations, like in 20 years from now, if you crush this, it's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
This brings up another thought that I'd love to get your take on is a lot of times I think people get intimidated to hire really incredible talent because it puts pressure on you as a leader. I know that my leadership lid, if any of my people's leadership or opportunity surpasses my own leadership lid, I don't deserve or earn the right to be their leader. And so one of the things that keeps me up at night, and I'd be curious if you do this, is sometimes the thing I'm worried about now is not the next listing we're going to take. It's am I growing fast at a fast enough opportunity to make sure that I can create the next opportunity for my people? And that is exciting because it keeps me moving forward, but there's a lot of pressure that comes with that from a leadership perspective as well.
100% agree. I mean, it's no different pressure to me than having kids or having a wife. Like I became a much more responsible version of myself. In fact, it'll be this Friday, 23 years ago this Friday when I got married than I was prior to being married. It's like, wow, I can't screw up. I can't intentionally screw up anymore. When you bring talent in your organization and you know they're showing up and they're giving it their all, it makes you go to bed a little bit earlier. It makes you get up a little earlier. It makes you read a little bit more, network a little bit more, be a little bit more on cue and point. I think sometimes that can backfire because people in our organization are not talent and they're just pushing. And so we get annoyed by it. There's nothing that I get more excited about than a talented person who respectfully pushes a leadership team saying, why has it been this way? Or what about this? Or how could that look? It sharpens all of us. And isn't that great? Like to just sharpen together. Yeah. And I don't think we'd be abnormal to not feel a little bit of pressure as we bring these people in. It's good.
And that's a sign that you hired good talent. If you know you have to grow because of the person you just hired, that's a good sign that you probably hired the right talent.
I'll share this. So we're in our company for new hires. Like I don't care where they came from or what company they ran or how great their pedigree is. Like Marcus, respectfully, like 90 days before we get your great ideas. Let's just make sure, right? I'd stay tuned. I know you used to do it this way. I don't care. Like for 90 days, why don't you just see and experience and get trained on how we do it? Because it's working pretty well. That's how I can afford your giant paycheck. And after day 90, trust me, we will look for your ideas. We will ask for them. We will value them when they come without asking, and we'll implement the best ones ASAP. But I do think when you bring people in, there should be a standard. Like, let's get you up to speed on who we are before you change things.
And I think you earn the right to do that when you hire early, like we were talking about. When you hire and paying, this is putting the pressure back on them to be like, these are my problems. I don't know how to fix them. You're the solution. Fix them, right?
And on hiring, people are like, well, as soon as I get everything put together, and this is normally from the operations side of any business, as soon as I get everything put together, then I'll get them hired. I'd be like, how long have you been in business for? They're like 13 years. And I was like, okay, 13 years, you've never organized the operations side. And they're like, nope. And I was like, hire somebody to organize that for you.
Yes, that's exactly right. So let's take what we've been talking about and shift it to a forward-facing conversation. Our economy is shifting. Our markets are shifting. There's from the consumer standpoint, and frankly, from a lot of entrepreneurs, the way the customers are approaching their businesses are different. So what are some things you're thinking about right now with your own leadership and your own team to say the market shifting, the economy shifting? What are some things that you're focusing on to say, where must I change to be relevant in the coming market?
I'll give a couple quick answers. Like our business, Mark, because you and I are both from a real estate background, both of us from multiple streams of income that are now outside of real estate home sales per se.
Yep.
But one is truly moving to technology. And we hear that constantly in all industries, but it's like you look at our cake, it's like somebody calls and we ask them to come to our office and we ask them about their goals and have you met with a lender? We ask all this silly stuff because we don't want to waste our time and go and show them a home. True?
Yep.
At the end of the day, consumer can push a button, get an Uber at their house in 4 minutes. They can push another button and have 12 billion items delivered to their house in 24 to 36 hours. Like we have moved into an immediate gratification world. And we are really shifting our business practices, which we said it was about them, it's about us. Like, wait a second, I'm not going to go and show somebody homes that hasn't met with a lender. I'm not going to show somebody homes that hasn't sat down in my office and talked to me. And it's like, we have people every day texting, emailing, calling, saying, I want to see this home. And we just simply go and show it to them. And then, of course, we don't waste tremendous time with them, but we're going to where they're at. And then we'll schedule that secondary meeting or have it on place. But it's little shifts, but we're working more how the big, great companies are like Uber. I'm not saying Uber's so great or Amazon, but they're immediately giving the client what they want. Where our industry, despite popular opinion, is often about what we want. So we're becoming more client interfaced. As far as like the economy and our industry in general, I'm just seeking opportunity. I'm just seeking opportunity. Like every market, every business, every industry is opportunity in the ups and downs. So where all my competitors are being overly optimistic and everything's going to be okay, or being super gloom and doom and the world is ending, we're going back to 2010. Like there's these two, and it's like, I don't care about either of those. Yeah. Like there's going to be people that want to buy and sell. And my goal every day is to be the most educated. And again, I'm not a systems guy, I'm not a numbers guy, but every day I spend 30, 40 minutes every single morning looking at the numbers of my market. What's happening? Do you know, like right now, Marcus, and this is true nationwide, you can get a jumbo loan, a super jumbo loan. You can go buy a $2 million home, a $1.5 million home, and you can get a better interest rate than somebody buying a $500,000 home. And in my 22 years in the industry, I've never seen that before. So there's great interest rates at luxury price points. And on top of it, guess what? Luxury market is crashing. So what a great opportunity it is to reach out to all of my rich friends, all of my wealthy past clients. You know, like, I don't know, I'm sure you're watching the news that, you know, rates have skyrocketed. Great news. Jumbo rates are the lowest they've been comparative to any other rate. And the house that used to be 2 million just got lowered to 1.7 million. Would you be interested? Like, there's opportunity in every market. So we've been through this before. We're going to thrive by not being overly optimistic, not being doom or gloom, and then finding the opportunity and then finding it's fly fishing, man. Match the hatch. Like, here's the opportunity, and go and find a group of people that can resonate with and share it with them every day.
I think that's so spot on right now. Is we have to be more educated, more professional than ever been, and then that's step one. And step two is you then got to have the conversation with the consumer. It does you no good to be the smartest man in the industry if you're going to sit in your office and be like, well, I have all the answers. Now I just wait for everyone to call me. It's how do you go out and say, how do I now take this information out and educate people, and I'll find the people that are ready to take some action.
And don't be attached to the outcome. We see that so often with entrepreneurs when there's a change in the world they've lived in or the market. It's like, why are these people and they backed out? And I shared just those things, Craig, and they didn't resonate. I'm like, cool, you shared it with 3 people. Go and share it with 3,000. And I bet you'll do more business in this new market than you did last year in a great market.
Yeah, so true. It's going to be, this market's going to be the differentiator, I think, where you know, the majority of people in our industry, and I think this is true for a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people across different industries have taken their own future into their own hands over the last couple of years and have started businesses in different respects. This is the first like real obstacle they've had to face in launching their own business. And it will be interesting to see the people that lean into conversations like this to say, how do I grow through this instead of be the person that's just whining about it? What are the gaps in my own knowledge? What are the gaps in my organization? Who are the people I need to hire that can close the gaps? And I'm a strong believer, having gone through a couple market swings myself, is the people that are actually investigating and learning and growing through this will pick up market share and come through this, taking advantage of those opportunities, growing as individuals and picking up market share on the other side.
100%. Yeah, there'll be people that leave, there'll be people that get by, and there'll be people that thrive. And the ones that are most educated, do the most research. I mean, even like what we're doing today, like I get to hang out with Marcus Green. Are you kidding me? Like I step away from this conversation more energy and smarter than going into it. So who are your mentors? Who are your prophets? Who are your role models? Where are you spending your time? How are you trickling that down to your audience, to your staff, your team? Like it all plays together.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, Craig, I've really loved this conversation. Just love what you're doing. Really admire and respect you in the industry and as an entrepreneur, and really so in alignment with the message of the Whole Enchilada. So thank you for sharing some of your time and energy with me today. Any last words or comments you'd like to leave with the group?
I just wrap with multiple streams of income. Like it doesn't matter what field you're in, with the exception of some high tech that can blow up and you become worth $100 million like overnight if everything clicks. Like most people, even entrepreneurs, have this great business and they make a very, very, very respectable income. But there's few people I know that have become incredibly wealthy just off of their business. So I would leave the audience with awesome. You're crushing it. We've been a great economy up until like the last couple seconds. What have you done with it, or what do you plan to do with it? Like, where the wealthiest people I know, they make money because they've excelled in this area, and then they take a portion of it and they put it here, here, and here, so money starts making money for them. So I would just, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. We coach them for a living, and I still see so many get up and grind through every day. So just really focus on where can you invest this money from the hard work and success you've had that can start giving you passive returns.
Amen. I love that. If any of our listeners want to get a hold of you or follow you, where would you direct them?
Probably the easiest is just my email. So it's Craig@RiegerCoaching.com. That's REGER coaching.com. So Craig@RiegerCoaching.com, or just Google RCC Coaching. You'll find us. We're in Portland, Oregon. We're not hard to find.
Okay, awesome. Hey, well, thanks so much again for sharing some of your time with us. Thanks for the friendship. And I look forward to getting out on the river, the lake with you sometime soon and catching some fish.
My pleasure, buddy. It was great to see you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. All right, Enchilada Nation, as you listen today, I'm hoping that one or two things stood out to you of an actionable item that you can take. This is an opportunity for you to grow as an individual, opportunity for you to grow your business. And just like Craig was saying, there are opportunities in any market. Do not spend your time griping and complaining around what's going on around you. If you open your eyes and become a student of the market and surround yourself around the right people, you will see those opportunities, and you will grow through this and look back at this time as an opportunity, an accelerator in your career. So thank you guys again for plugging in. Don't forget, go live life on your terms.